All right, everybody. I want to welcome Dr. Anna Yusim here, a good friend of mine I've known here for several years now. So, Anna, tell us a little about yourself there, and I'll turn it over to Laura. She wanted to ask a couple of questions and see
Mhm.
what everybody's thinking.
All right, so I think most of you read Anna's long and very impressive bio. We are very lucky to have her on here. And I thought of a couple questions that I think most of you have experienced and might want to know. What I find with traditional medicine is either they are completely against it or they know nothing about it. And it's really one and the same, in my opinion, because if they knew something about it, they would be more like Dr. Yusim. So I wanted to ask Dr. Yusim, what was it that made you realize there was more than just traditional medicine in your field?
Yeah, it's a great question, Laura. And it's such a pleasure to be here with everybody. Hello. Thank you for having me here. Um, yeah, so for me, it's been a very interesting path. I was trained as a very traditional psychiatrist. I went to Stanford University, to Yale Medical School, studied biology and philosophy, then, medicine and ultimately psychiatry. And it wasn't until the end of my psychiatry residency training that I started to see the world a little differently. And a number of things happened. One of those things was, Laura and I were talking, I was telling her the story. I was sitting in an ice cream shop. And this was a time in my life when I started questioning. Things weren't really going my way. I was having my own so-called dark night of the soul. And I was sitting in an ice cream shop, and a psychic and her young child comes in, and the psychic says to me, "I have a message for you. Can I give you the message?" And she looked rather innocuous. So I said, "Sure, tell me your message." And this psychic, who I've never met before, never seen before, proceeds to tell me all of these things about my life that she had absolutely no way of knowing. And it was really fascinating that this person had this deep innate knowledge, including of the guy that I had a big crush on that nobody knew about. And she told me things that were not written in my journal, that weren't on Facebook, certainly. So there was no way she could have known. And it made me think, how in the world is this possible? We're taught in medical school that each mind is separate and distinct. Yet this woman knew these things about my mind, about my soul, about my life path. So this made me really just start thinking, wow, the mind and the world exists a little bit differently than I've been taught. And, since then, I have gotten very interested in numerous things in the realm of spirituality, including energy healing, which is what Ed offers. And it's just so fascinating to me what Ed does. And I've had many of my own clients and patients become clients and patients of Ed and have great benefit from him. And obviously, I'm preaching to the choir. All of you guys know this. That's why you're here. And I just was reading all about, Ed on his website and learning more about it. And there's so many ways to describe what Ed does. There's so much language for it. And there's many synonyms, and that includes psychokinesis. Psycho means the mind, kinesis means movement. So movement of energy through the mind. Very cool. And this energy is referred to as either biophotons. This could be called biofield therapy, bioenergy, scalar energy. There's Bire energy, BIRE, which stands for biointrinsic resonant energy. And some people also call it subtle energy from charge density plasmas, all kinds of interesting language. People are studying this on all levels. But at the end of the day, it's really a human being through the power of the mind and intentionality, creating a very strong electromagnetic field that elevates the frequency of the beings that are in contact with Ed, that are, the subjects of and the objects of his intentionality. And we are lucky to be among them. So this is all very powerful, and Ed has amazing psychokinetic abilities. Um, and so I'm just thrilled to be here. And I think that so much more research needs to be done to study precisely this.
So when most people come for energy healing, they think of pain or other traditional medical conditions. Not too many people come thinking ADHD, depression, things of the mind. Yet I've seen it firsthand in multiple people that I know that have been with Ed since I've been with them, a complete mood change elevation. And that was something I did not even see coming. So Anna, what do you see? How do you see that in your field? Like what is the mechanism?
Yeah, if we knew the answer to that question, then the kind of work that Ed does would be part of traditional medical training. We are
Okay.
trying to understand that mechanism and trying to understand how this all works. And, my understanding is that, Ed is able to create through his intentionality a very powerful electromagnetic field. And, ultimately, we all know our world by vibrating with our world, right? So we're both photons, we're both energy and matter, and we have a vibration. And sometimes when we encounter somebody or an environment with a higher vibration, we're able to become entrained with it, and our own vibrational frequency increases. So if I were to posit and hypothesize on a mechanism, I believe that would be the mechanism, but I'm not a physicist, and there are individuals who study quantum energy with much, much more rigor and detail than I do. But I would think that it's somewhere in that realm, in the realm of quantum healing.
Yeah, I was looking more for the theory, but that was great too. And then my next question, and this is where we're going to turn it over to you, is the center that you're working on, and what do you see in the future and where we're at now?
Absolutely, Laura. So I'm a clinical assistant professor at Yale, and I am together with one of the deputy chairs at Yale, Dr. Christopher Pittenger, starting the Yale Mental Health and Spirituality Center. And the idea there is to bridge the Divinity School and the medical school to study interesting questions at this intersection of mental health and spirituality. And this kind of work that Ed does is completely in line with that. So we want to understand this more. There's many different questions that we're studying, but questions of energy healing. How do you use a person's intentionality to help heal another? How does psychokinesis work? Those are such key and important questions, and they've studied these questions. And Ed has been studied in great detail at UVA, at the Monroe Institute, at a number of other places as well. So we want to continue that and really build upon that tradition, because these are very powerful and natural forms of healing that come through the human mind. There's other forms of healing like medication and surgeries, etc. And that's our traditional Western medicine. And a lot of those healing modalities have side effects. But this natural healing, which Ed is offering us, really doesn't have a side effect. It's a beautiful natural thing that comes from one human to another through the power of his mind, through his heart, through his soul. And it was also so interesting for me to read about Ed's history, that this comes from him being of Cherokee lineage and having a grandmother who was a hands-on healer herself, and teaching Ed that the energy that comes through him was from the Holy Spirit, and teaching him how to heal. So I really also do believe that this gift comes down generations and through ancestry. And so Ed got this, and we're, lucky enough to be benefiting from it.
Ed, you want to pipe in a little bit? And if anybody has any questions for Dr. Yusim, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. Ed, take it away.
Yeah, I'm just doing like y'all say there. I'm just brought this energy in. My grandma cultivated it in me as a little kid, and then I brought it up in the world being a mischievous kid, and then I showed it to Dr. Levingood at the University of Michigan in 1994 and blew him away. He called right back then, he called it biofield therapy. Said, this is what biofield therapy really is the ability to generate measurable energy with the mind and be able to transfer it to other people. And so that's what I've learned to do. And then through those studies, just kept elevating me up to more and more studies that then got me introduced to the Ryan Research Center's Biophoton Bioenergy Lab. And there I've been under study ever since 2008, where I go in and create the biophotons, which is the mechanisms that are coming out of me to transmit to other people to cause your systems to start functioning. It's the command signals or so in the energy. And so the biophoton's there, and then they wanted to know, well, what's my brain doing to be able to do these things? So they got me introduced to the University of Virginia Neuroimaging Lab with Dr. Ross Dunseith and Dr. Edward Kelly. And so we did a 1.5-year pilot study, which they had then now determined that when I'm turning this energy on and bring it on, I go from one level of consciousness primarily to all levels of consciousness simultaneously, and that's how I'm able to produce these psychokinesis effects for them in the laboratory. It's multiple levels of consciousness working all together simultaneously in my brain, and that allows me to lock in, as Grandma said, with the Holy Spirit or with Source, that mechanism is my mechanism for activating this energy. And then I just bring it in, amp it up, and anybody that hears me and aware of me, it transfers to you. And just, a huge flow.
So I always like to say with Ed, energy healers are anomalies. And from everything I've seen amongst other energy healers, he's the anomaly amongst the anomalies. And if you go on his website, you can see why. He's got plenty of studies and just all sorts of data. He's been under study since 1995. He's the only one. So that's really important. I'm going to go over to a couple of these questions here that we have. Wondering how to shift the MTHFR variant with Bayer.
Okay, so I don't know the exact answer to this question, but I'll kind of hypothesize and philosophize a little bit about it. So the MTHFR variant, certain people have it and they are not able to metabolize folate with the same efficiency as other people. And so people like that, I actually have this variant. We need to take methylfolate supplements. And there's a lot of other theories as to other things that you need to take. And also you have to try to avoid regular folate and try to take methylfolate. And folate exists in a lot of wheat products like bread. So you want to avoid some of those products. And the idea, the question basically asks whether or not an energetic shift can somehow neutralize a physical deficit. I'm guessing the answer is probably yes. And I'm guessing, this is a measurable, answerable question that can be studied. Whether it has been studied, I certainly do not know. But I think in theory, absolutely, energy can change the body. And that's the idea. That's why a lot of people, I believe, have been helped, who have had cancer, et cetera, who have been helped by energy healing.
And Olympia asks, usually the medical profession asks for scientific, tangible results. What exactly can we provide the hard science doctors to make them understand this? Your question is perfect timing because what came out this year is the scientific proof. If you look up Joe Dispenza, the source, this is where they actually put it all together. You have Ed, he's one side of the coin. He's measured. We all know, all the proof is there, but what does it mean? What does it do? The source proves the other side that you can heal yourself and the results of this. So that is one thing you can reference. And Anna, if you have anything else to add to that, please do.
Yeah, I think it's you're exactly right, Laura, that the folks from UCSD, Dr. Hemel Patel and Dr. Toby Muller-Bertrand are like the key scientists on the Joe Dispenza data. And they are looking at all facets of how meditation and being in a field of 1,000 or 2,000 people meditating for a week can change every aspect of your physiology, from your capacity to avoid COVID to your the things that limit inflammation, to your heart rate, to all sorts of other things. Obviously, also to disease measures, because they are also, a lot of people come to Joe Dispenza sessions who are quite ill. So they have had a few publications, and also there's some things on Ed's website that I actually read through today that are very interesting, where people are talking about the kinds of studies that are possible, such as how Ed was able to, through his intentionality, change a random number generator. So this is always a question. If there's a random number generator, can we as human beings impact that through our consciousness? And there was something on Ed's website about him being able to do this, which was certainly super interesting.
Yeah, I could do it from a distance. They'll get me on Zoom or on Skype and have me focus on the lab there at the Rhine. And I've gotten 17 significant hits out of 30 on it one day.
Then we have someone was asking if there's any lectures on the Yale campus on this subject.
Well, this is why we're starting the Yale Mental Health and Spirituality Center. There are some researchers at Yale who are doing some work with biofield therapy. There is a lovely PhD in nursing, Dora Landavi. She's working on biofield therapy at the Yale VA, but we don't have enough of this. And so this is precisely why we're starting my center, the Yale Mental Health and Spirituality Center, to create more of this and to really spread the word about this far and wide.
All right.
Very good.
And just over here on the chat, from our regulars, that everyone agrees that tonight was a much stronger session, which is great. If anyone has any other questions, go ahead and put it in the chat now. Grew up in Buddhism.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had some really good energy tonight, y'all, and it's just going to keep cranking up, and that's why we need so much more research. Anna's working on ways of appropriating funding to help us get this started, and she's in the process of that. That's not my department. I'm just here trying to bring everybody together, and also that she can put it into play for us.
All right, here's a question. I've had a high-pitched sound in my head on and off for over a month. My physical ears are fine. Do you concur that I'm experiencing an ascension symptom? And is there a way to stop it?
I recommend to people that have tinnitus to take part in our Zoom rooms because it accumulates in there and it helps them to get a control or a way to slowly calm it down and all so that it's not such a intense pitch. I myself experienced that, but I associate it with other electromagnetic happenings that are going on within my head here.
Donna, wow, love Anna, so informational, so I can understand this. Healing buyer is energizing love. Love Ed. Thank you, Donna. And I know we have a lot of new people on here. If you want to also check out, we do these 4 times a week. We're back on Thursday at 8 p.m. And that is Heal Yourself, where we show you some modalities on how to work on yourself.
So Anna, you may take it away.
Where would you like me to take it, Ed?
Anywhere you want to. You just tell the world how you...
And anything else you want to add?
I am happy to, work with anybody in any capacity around these sorts of things. This is a very deep interest area of mine. My website is just www.myfullname, annayusim.com. I'm a big fan of Ed's work and of finding the necessary science, as many of the questions pose, that give legitimacy to this work, because within our Western medical community, there's a lot of skepticism. And there's always the saying that exceptional claims demand exceptional evidence. And so oftentimes the studies that come out by Ed, about Ed, et cetera, are still viewed with skepticism because they are forcing people to change their worldview, to have a paradigm shift. And we're not always ready for a paradigm shift. And therefore we come up with all of these doubts and, that basically logic in the face of evidence that's showing that this actually is a real thing. And so paradigm shift has to happen when a society is ready. It's not just a scientific revolution, but it's actually a cultural revolution. And I feel like we're right at the brink of that. People are becoming much more open to this, and it's very exciting to see, and it's exciting to be a part of this.
Yes. Yeah, Dr.
All right, we got another question. What do you think about the role of, I'm not going to say microglia, in controlling our neuron connections and influencing our consciousness?
Could you give a little bit more data on that, or can you explain the question a little bit more?
All right, let me go on to the next one. Can this energy be used to treat essential tremor?
So, Ed probably has an answer, but I also have studied a lot of Joe Dispenza's work and a lot of energy healing. And essentially, when you reach a higher state of consciousness, when you change who you are and actually change your identity, you can also change your attachment to a certain disease or illness or to a certain symptom. And so absolutely. So through changing your consciousness, you can change any symptom, including an essential tremor. But even more so through the, what Ed does and the energy itself, without even changing your consciousness, you also can heal essential tremor, because certain people are very sensitive to this energy and it elevates their vibrational frequency in a way that actually heals the tremor.
Yeah,
I think there's multiple mechanisms through which this could take place.
There are. We did some studies that come out through Parker College on Parkinson's,
Hmm.
and the shaking and the nervous or the uncontrollable limb and stuff movements. And when I create this field of energy around my body and I sit with people that have those problems, it just calms their nervous systems right out. They're able to come back into a more normalcy, and it's just the matter of being able to teach them how to maintain this mental thought patterns. Once you kind of get the thought patterns, you all have everything I have built in me. It's just I've learned over time and trial and error how to control everything up here. And so that's what allows me to share it with people. So as you can learn yourselves, you heal yourselves.
All right, here's another one from Maria. I recently learned that dementia patients are low on 40 hertz. Can energy exposure to Edd reactivate this energy range in dementia patients?
Well, I don't know about the 40 hertz thing. I do know that the studies done on me in the early days had my energy running around 1.618 hertz. And if I kept it really close to that and focused that on people, it balanced their systems out to optimum efficiency. But we haven't done any experiments with anything outside of that range. All our experiments with Dr. Levengood was in the 2 hertz to 7 hertz range. Everything else seemed to be, couldn't see really anything that we could see any measurable results in.
All right, and finally, does the eclipse have anything to do with energy? I know solar flares do, but what about things like eclipse?
Not necessary other than it has people's attention focused on something that's going on there. Now, but on the other hand, like you say, the solar flares, those are highly charged electrical particles, and as they approach the planet, they charge our ionosphere up. And it goes in through and it creates the northern, southern lights and all, and that energy pumps into the planet and comes back out around all of us everywhere. So it does have a major influence on life here on the planet.
All right, here's another question. I almost think this is gonna be more for Anna, even though it says it's for Ed. Lately, more so than in the past, I've had energy surges as I'm sitting quietly. These energy surges bolt me forward and my feet and legs are raised. Does this mean any of my chakras are blocked for me to be thrown off my seat?
I don't know,
Either.
I don't know if I can answer that, and that's kind of out of my field there.
That's what I thought. I thought that was more of an Anna question. Anna, anything, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think the energy that Ed and strong electromagnetic energy can certainly open chakras, can unblock blocked chakras. And then when there is an opening, certain parts of your body can respond. So, absolutely, that may be a mechanism as to what is happening. And, someone else a little later down wrote about her grandmother performing miracles, and that Western medicine and science will soon shift to incorporate non-traditional forms of healing. So I think I want to say that's, I think, absolutely true. And what Ed is offering, what is offered through Joe Dispenza, what's offered through other energy healers is often seen as a miracle. And I define a miracle as something highly beneficial, yet statistically improbable. And so even you feeling the energy from Ed in this way, the fact that there is somebody sitting in New York City sending you something through a Zoom screen and you're feeling this energy, that's kind of miraculous. That doesn't really fit well into the medical models that we have been trained in. And this is actually the book that I'm writing right now is about the science of miracles. How does it work? And what's the mechanism of it? Really doing an exploration of that on so many levels. But I really think right now we're calling it a miracle. But one day, not too far in the distant future, it's really going to be rote medicine and science as usual.
Good, exactly. That's where we want to take it, but we want to get as much research as we can right now. That's critical, so that we can actually teach this in a proper way on to others and other doctors and all.
And Helene's asking about a chronic condition, and the answer is always the same. Just keep doing the energy sessions. They start stacking on each other.
Yes, they're cumulative.
Okay, and isn't it feasible, you're very sensitive to energy, higher frequencies, that it would be felt, heard in the head? Tinnitus is a physical diagnosis that I reject. Can you please speak to my question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, yes. So there's, I think in general, when it comes to any symptom that is neurologic or psychologic, there's the biopsychosocial spiritual model that you have to think about with the biological basis of a symptom or of a diagnosis being just one of four parts. So yes, tinnitus could be a physical diagnosis with a biological component. It could have a genetic root. It could have a root in neurotransmitter imbalance, in some kind of blockage, in a mechanical issue, in an inflammatory issue, right? That's the biologic basis. But it could also have a psychological basis. It could be a psychological response to a trauma. It could be a psychological, even compensation mechanism for something else. It could be a psychological response to pain, and the brain is healing from that. Then biopsychosocial, spiritual. There could also be a social component to it. There could also be a spiritual component to it. So absolutely, I think the biological understanding of an illness is just one part of it. And to be able to heal yourself through these other parts really is what we're doing here.
All right. Can Ed or Anna say more about mental thought patterns and the role of emotions in healing? How does one guard against a fear that easily arise in disease state?
Yeah.
Dr. Yusim?
Yeah, I think that's such an important question, right? Because emotions are a normal part of the human experience. And on the one hand, we want to welcome our emotions and we want to accept all emotions and we want to love all aspects of the human experience, including all emotions that derive from it, including fear, including anger, including whatever else you experience as a human being. And on the other hand, experiencing negative emotions excessively without controlling them and without having some sort of after you allow yourself to feel them could actually, in and of itself, create disease. And so I think that as we heal through this biopsychosocial spiritual model, healing this is actually what Joe Dispenza says. When you heal yourself, you have to step into the person that you would like to become. And that's looking at your thoughts, your emotions, and your behaviors. So you have to look at what thoughts, emotions, and behaviors could have led to this disease state, and what thoughts, emotions, and behaviors are on the other side, are on the side of yourself as healed. And then how do you step into those thoughts, actions, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors? How do you let go of the first and step into the second? And a lot of this comes from changing our own narratives about our lives. We're all narratologists and storytellers. And what we do in life, especially if we are on a path of growth and transformation, is we release the narratives that no longer serve us, and we replace them with narratives that are more expanded and of higher consciousness. And so in doing so, that's also how we change the thoughts, emotions, and behaviors of a disease state and step into our health.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. All right, this has been wonderful.
I agree, Anna. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. I think our camera's frozen. Yep.
Yep, there we go. All that energy is just making it act a little wonky right now.
Hervinder, that was fantastic. Yeah, I agree. Hervinder's been with Ed for a long time, so we take her ratings very seriously.
Thank you, guys. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight there. We're going to keep presenting things like this, and we want to welcome everybody that's new to it. Come on in and explore this new energy world with us. We're really pushing the research big time. So come be part of it.
Yeah, I invite you guys to check out Ed's website. There is so much great information on there, all like scientific, data backup, everything you really need to see in black and white is there, which is great because he's the only one.
Yeah, and stand up when you watch my little videos on there. You'll get an effect off of them.
Always.
Even my Doritos commercial.
I love the Doritos commercial. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Yusim.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Anna. Glad you could be with us here. This has been very informative, and we will be back here again Thursday for Heal Yourself. And everyone have such a wonderful, wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.